Okay, I'm here with Joshua and Jessica Jones, and I found out about you just the other day on Facebook. Cash Jackson was talking about your situation. So anyway, we're going to talk with you a little bit about that.
Okay.
And Joshua, you were ex-military, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Active duty Army from 2004 to 2010.
2004 to 2010. So tell me about your service. What was your job in the military?
I was supposed to work on electronics and tanks, sighting systems, things like that. Most of the time I wound up running a small arm shop.
Okay. So how did when you got discharged in 2010, was that a voluntary discharge? Was there something that happened that...
At that point, my health had gotten to the point where they were offering me to get out medically. And at the time I was stubborn and I really didn't want to get out medically. I wanted to get out honorably, and so unfortunately I decided to go ahead and end my military career at that point. That way, it wouldn't be forced upon me at a later date.
So you were planning to make the military a career then?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me, when you said you were kind of forced to get out medically, was there some incident that happened?
Yes, sir. I was in an event where I was thrown from a Humvee during a IED blast, which caused me several physical injuries, to include traumatic brain injury, injuries to both knees, my ankles, my hips, my lower back.
PTSD.
And of course I have...
Traumatic brain injury.
Yes, sir. And of course after that I've had PTSD, depression, anxiety, things of that nature.
Do you mind if I ask what actually, well, you said some type of an explosion or something? Can you go into any details or?
Well, to tell you the truth, I really don't like to talk about it very much. It's something that if I talk about it in any sort of detail, I'm no good to anyone or anything for a good 3 days, because it all comes up. I have nightmares about it. And I mean, there's times I even have flashbacks, and especially when that happens, I'm useless.
Completely understand. So anyway, you got discharged from the military in 2010, and then what did you do from there?
Well, from there I tried to work in security. I knew that I had injuries, so I didn't want to go into anything too physical. Actually started college in mechanical engineering, hoping to get a degree, an easier physical job, but one that I could use more of my mind. And from there, as I worked, my health really just started to decline. My knees got worse, my back got worse, PTSD, things of that nature. I mean, they just all went downhill. A good portion of that was because I was, well, in terms of the depression and things of that nature, I was married to a woman that is not currently my wife, and we had 3 children together.
Okay.
After we got divorced, she used the testimony of my father, a man who, growing up, beat on me, my brother, and my mother. The state at one point had taken us away from him. Even my mother at one point had separated from him and actually went and got a protective order against him. And they eventually wound up back together. But she's just, years of abuse. She didn't know anything else.
Wow.
This man forced his way into my home, threatened me in front of my children. And I called the police, because that's what any sensible person would do. He was trying to instigate a fight in front of my kids, and I just wasn't going to have that. It's something I don't want my kids to see or be around, and I definitely don't want to put them in any sort of danger.
Now, before this, let me say this real quick. Before this, he had went into court and downed his ex-wife as much as possible. I mean, spoke very, very badly of her. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, Dad did.
Oh, yeah, your father did that?
Yes.
Okay.
And so this is what made him really turn on Josh, was the fact that he finally stood up to his father. So I'm sorry for interrupting.
Oh, so in other words, prior to that time, prior to him coming in like that, he was actually behind you as far as you had a relationship reestablished?
Yes, sir. After I got out of the military, he basically pretended to have changed. Tried to say that he was sorry for the things that he did, and it turns out that was pretty much a lie.
So you don't have a relationship with him right now?
No, I have absolutely nothing to do with him.
No contact.
Okay.
Yeah, it's aside from the fact that he's a physical danger.
Very much so.
Yeah, every time he's been around us, even in court, he's made threats.
Yes.
So we just keep him away.
Yeah.
Now, what about your children?
Well, when I had to call the police on him for forcing his way into my home and threatening me in front of them, he was arrested by Anderson County. And they took him to jail, and because we lived in Oak Ridge at the time, he had to go to court in Oak Ridge. My mother went in and lied for him, said that they were never there.
Yes.
So the district attorney there decided that since it was going to be a he said, she said case, just to have him stay away for 90 days, and as long as he did that, he got no charges. As soon as he was released from jail and that court date was done, he went straight to my ex-wife and said, hey, I'll testify for you and I'll lie for you.
He went the day after in the parking lot. You was supposed to meet to pick the children up, and met with her.
And then within a week we were in court with her putting in an emergency custody order and a protection order against me, to which I had solid proof that, you know, she had no reason for a protective order.
He was with, me and him had been together for quite a few months, and she was determined to somehow, because of bitterness, to put him through pure hell for absolutely no reason. I've seen him be a dad, and he's wonderful. There was no reason for his kids to be taken from him because of a bitter ex-wife. There's absolutely no reason. I'm sorry.
No, I completely understand. There are many people that go through this, and trust me, many people in America understand the feeling. So, do you see them right now? When was the last time you saw them?
2 years ago. My daughter is 6 and my twin boys are 4. But prior to that, we had equal time, and she actually called CPS on me twice. They come into my home, inspected my home, checked my kids out. One of them was the day after Christmas. One of the claims she made, actually, this will tell you how far-fetched she'll reach to try to do anything she could. She claimed that we had trained attack cats, which,
Yeah.
aside from that being ridiculous on its own, we didn't even have any pets at the time, let alone, you know, trained attack cats. The DCS worker, CPS, he said, I have to ask this, it's by law, but I know it's ridiculous. Do you have trained attack cats? And of course I said no. Anyway, they come into my home twice, and they checked everything out, they checked the kids out, everything was fine. They cleared me twice. A week after Dad got out of jail and went to my ex, I was in court for a protective order and for emergency custody. And because my dad testified against me, and he stood on stand and swore up and down that I had threatened to kill her and my children. And of course she claimed the same thing. But unfortunately she can't even keep up with her lies, so even on stand at one point she actually looked at me and said, oh, I'm not afraid of you. And then she realized what she said and said, you know, well, I'm not afraid of your evidence that you have. The judge, because my dad testified against me, even though he shouldn't have even been allowed to, just because I had to have charges pressed against him and the history that we have together, he should have never been allowed to even testify against me. However, he did, and because he lied on the stand, I lost my children. I've not been able to see them. I've had no contact with them. I'm not even allowed around them right now. Yeah, and all because of that. Even though I've never had any sort of, you know, criminal history. I've had like 2 speeding tickets my entire life, and that's it. You know, I've never shown any sort of like violent nature to anyone the entire time that me and my ex-wife were together. You know, no police calls, no concern from anyone, no, you know, marks on her anywhere, nothing like that you would see in an abusive home.
You know, it's amazing that in the divorce papers of his, and I've read them several times, the first divorce papers that she filed, she didn't want any type of protective order, anything like that. But as soon as the divorce is finalized, all of a sudden she wants a protective order. Many, and I'm probably going to catch pure hell for this, I have noticed that many women will pull that bullshit on a man. It's wrong and it's disgusting. To possibly destroy a man's reputation, his job, as what happened in his case, It's pure disgusting.
So you said his job was destroyed. Can you elaborate a little bit?
When she got the protective order based off of my dad's testimony, the protective order, one of the things that they absolutely pushed for was that I could not possess or carry a firearm. I worked at a prison at the time. One of the requirements for being able to work at that prison was that you had to be able to carry a firearm. Even though the majority of the time that you were there, you never had to carry one. It was one of the state's requirements.
Now, and she, at this time, she's wanting child support. How is a man or a woman supposed to pay child support when you go and you lie in court and their job, they get fired from their job? It's absolutely absurd. And then after he loses his job, she starts pushing even harder and harder to get him thrown in jail.
She, afterwards of me losing my job, based off of her actions, and at the time I was getting 40% disability from the VA. I think I was getting paid around $600 or so a month. And we were using that literally just to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And as soon as she got all that, situated to her benefit with my dad, she went to the child support office. She filed for a motion to change everything. The child support office took everything that she said for granted. She swore up and down that I was working security at ball games and stuff like that, making money under the table, and that I had just this massive amount of income. They set for my child support to be well over $1,000 a month, and we weren't even getting $700. We were getting $600 and change, and that was to go to rent. By the time we paid rent, we had maybe $100 left to buy groceries, gas, pay for the car, everything.
Yeah.
So at that point, we had lost our home.
What you said you had a home that you...
That we rented.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We rented that home, and we had lost it. We just got to where we couldn't pay rent because I was being forced to pay more child support than I had in income altogether, if you even included my VA disability as income.
And his health was declining, and I was starting to have to care for him all the time. And that's one of the main reasons why I wasn't able to work. I would get to work, and he would call me, panicking, thinking, people was outside or having panic attacks.
Is this directly related to your military service?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It's because of the PTSD. Even now, I still have, issues, but it's with her caring for me. It's a lot easier, especially with between her and the medications that they put me on, which there's something I have to discuss later about that. But so after that point, I was forced to find myself a new career. And in the state of Tennessee, I couldn't do anything other than security. Everywhere that I went, they told me I was either overqualified because of my military service or that my military service, and I quote, doesn't count. I was trained in electronics. I'm very proficient at it. I was trained in weapons as well, but there's not as many jobs in that. But I mean, I was good at it. I was talented at it. I had 6 years of experience at it, and which is considerably more than anyone that just got out of college.
Right.
And they told me I was either overqualified or that my military service didn't count. So I changed my education so that I could go into a career faster. I wound up working. We had to move out of state after I had found a job because that's the only thing we could do.
You moved out of state?
Yes, sir. We moved to Oklahoma.
Okay. Go ahead.
And so we moved there, and I started working in wind turbines, which one would think, given all the electronics in those, it wouldn't be that physically demanding of a job. But a lot of the times you have to climb the towers just to get up to the wind turbines. A lot of them are 400 feet in the air. That's a lot of climbing.
Right.
Especially for somebody that's got bad knees and a bad back. A lot of heavy equipment. And while working there, it made my condition way worse, to the point where I couldn't work anymore. The VA put me at 90% disability just based on my physical aspect. They haven't even got to the PTSD at that point.
So you're at 90% right now.
Yes, sir.
Are they still evaluating you to consider?
Well, they've pretty much told me I've got 100%, but they've got to process a few things.
Okay.
So I should have it within the next couple of months.
Okay.
and I don't know the full details on that. They just, they kind of give me a little bit of information, and then after that, it's up in the air.
Yeah, and they've the VA has made me his caregiver. A few things that I do, and you don't care me sharing, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. When we first get up in the mornings, he has extreme trouble getting in and out of the shower, bathing sometimes, pretty much every morning. So all the time, I help bathe him, dress him. To look at him, you would think there's nothing wrong with him. He's just fine. But that's not the case. I cook for him, clean for him.
So this is your full-time job?
Yeah, full time. So that's why if anyone's like, well, why ain't she getting off her ass and working? That's why. It's because I'm, a full-time caregiver to him. And it's hard to see him go through so much on a daily basis. But I wouldn't want anybody else caring for him than me.
Right.
So, after I got to the point where I couldn't work anymore, we decided to move back here because the Sevierville VA clinic was supposed to be really, really good at taking care of veterans. And
is there the VA clinic is here?
It's in Sevierville.
It's Sevierville, so it's about 45 minutes away?
Yeah, 45 to an hour.
Yeah.
And that's actually the closest, and that's just a clinic.
Okay.
Other than the Knoxville clinic, and we won't go there, speaking about that clinic.
Okay.
Yeah, they're horrible. So I wound up actually getting a good doctor in Sevierville.
She's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's still a bit of a drive, and then of course she's just the regular doctor. I'm actually in need of a few surgeries on my lower back. I have to have my gallbladder removed. I've had that for a good bit now. All that has to be done in Johnson City, which is almost 3 hours away.
3 hours away.
And of course all that costs, gas and whatnot.
Right.
So my ex kept, pushing with the child support. Now, bear in mind, from 2013, when she started receiving child support, when they started, charging it of me, to even now, they have calculated in my VA disability. By federal law, that is illegal. There's actually several laws that clearly state that. The state of Tennessee tends to use a case from the Supreme Court that originated in Tennessee called Rose versus Rose. And that was in 1987, if I remember right. It might be 86. Hard for me to remember certain things. But anyway, during that Supreme Court ruling, they said basically states can take child support from veterans through their VA disability. That was not the intent of Congress. That was not the intent that our country leaders meant for our disabled veterans, and it's not meant for that since the late 1800s, because the original laws on the books were from then. So they revised laws and wrote new ones in 1988 and 1991, all stating that basically the Rose versus Rose case was a travesty in our court system, and that no state has the authority to charge child support out of VA disability, period. It's not to be used as income. It's not to be touched in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It's meant for the veteran because they served their country, went through some bad stuff, and wound up coming out disabled in whatever various form. And even with all my stuff, I clearly understand that there's veterans out there that are a lot worse than I am.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I'm injured. I have a hard time walking, but I had friends that come back with without a foot, for example. I had some friends that didn't come home.
Right.
And to think that they would be in that sort of situation, even worse than me, and be treated the same way is just horrific.
It's disgusting. That's what it is. Our men and women who have served this country and proudly served this country deserves better than what they're getting. And it's about time that more people stand up and try to make a difference.
Right. But now let's get back to, because the medical issues, we could spend hours and hours on that alone.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But regarding your children and what happened this past week and everything, or the last 2 weeks,
It's been about 2.5 weeks total.
Okay, can you go into that a little bit?
Yes, sir. So the state is still pushing for a massive amount of child support from me, to the point of where...
From your disability?
Yes, sir. And that's the only thing that they have calculated.
Okay.
Is my VA disability, because I have nothing else.
So you're not working right now?
No, sir. No, I lack the physical ability to.
Yeah, he cannot.
And because of that, I have applied for Social Security disability, which there's two forms of that. One of them they can actually take child support from. And I mainly put in for that because, I want to be able to provide for my children.
Right.
I'd much rather be doing it in person.
And you'd also would like to see them at the same time.
Yes, sir. Yes, I would love to be able to spend time with them. I miss them every day. Every day, every second of every day.
Any parent knows that heartache. Who's gone through it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they do. So, if you don't care, give me a second.
Sure.
Well, hopefully I don't look all silly.
Absolutely.
Don't
Knowing
worry.
You miss your children.
Anybody, any parent who's gone through that, or grandparent, completely understands.
Yeah.
So, I'm in the process of trying to get things fixed in court. Fighting for my kids, fighting for my federal civil rights that state that she's not supposed to be getting child support out of my VA disability, because I'm in such a way that I have to survive off that.
Right.
With what they're asking, we can't. We would literally be in the street together.
Yeah.
And I can't go get another job somewhere else. I can't.
He physically cannot. There's just no way he can't do it.
But now,
So-
you said you were at one time going to go into mechanical engineering at one time. Can you?
Yes, sir. Because I had to change my educational program. That burned up a lot of my education benefits. So I'm not able to finish my degree without having to pay for it out of pocket. And at this point, with everything that's wrong with me, I don't even know if I physically could do it. I mean, I have a hard time just sitting in one place or
Right.
standing, or I spend a lot of time in bed because it's hard for me to get around.
Right. And this was because of the
Because of the disabilities, the physical.
Yeah.
the explosion that you.
And with the TBI, it's he'll forget things. He'll have to ask a question several times.
What does TBI? Traumatic brain injury.
Traumatic brain injury, yes. And over time, with him, in his case, it seems to be getting worse. And it's something that the doctors are still looking at, but the VA's slow about things, and there's so many veterans needing help right now that it's there's a line of veterans to get help, and a lot of them's not getting the help they need. And with
Right.
his traumatic brain injury, it's just really hard for him to do anything anymore.
Got it. I talked with Cash in Washington 2 weeks ago, and one of the things he talked about is the abuse that veterans take. He was referring to the family court system, because their service gets used against them. Like they may have PTSD. He says it's not a disorder, it's what happens because you're in the military and you've gone through these things. And then you will have a spouse or ex-spouse use it against you to try to get custody or whatever. Have you had experience with that?
Oh yes, sir. That's exactly what my ex-wife and my dad said in court. And of course, my dad being biologically my dad, he was considered to be a credible witness on that basis alone.
Even though he had a history of being in.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Even with his history, that's what they considered. And the court systems, as soon as someone says PTSD, even outside of the court systems, if we go to Walmart and someone overheard my wife talking about my PTSD, if she was to talk about it in Walmart with me, and someone heard that, they'll give me funny looks. I mean, you say PTSD to normal, like, just civilians that's never been around military,
Right.
and they immediately, it's been put in news and everything else. Someone with PTSD, they're just crazy.
Yeah.
That's what the media portrays people with that as, and
Right.
it's not. We're not crazy. We've been through traumatic events, and it might cause us to have nightmares, or flashbacks or things of that nature, but it doesn't make us violent or bad people.
Right.
Absolutely not.
And the court system is the exact same way. As soon as someone says he has PTSD from war, the courts immediately think, oh, well, he's violent and he'll snap on someone and hurt someone or be violent to his kids or things of that nature. It's immediately how they treat us.
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is not only did the courts take any witness against you at times, the false allegation can be used, but then they pile up other things that that they don't completely understand.
Yes, sir.
And they deprive you from your children.
Yes, sir. You sure do.
And you said it was 2 years since you've last seen them.
Yes, sir.
I've seen some of the pictures of you with your children, and you just look so happy. I'm so sorry for you. Jessica, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have some children as well,
Yes, I have 3 boys.
and maybe you can't talk too much right now, but whatever you want to say about them, or even say hello to them, or whatever.
You are my life, my heart, and my soul. If you don't mind, I'll grab a picture. Actually,
Okay.
This is an older picture. It's pretty much all I've got. But
Wow.
it's my boys.
Yeah.
Of course, they're older now, but they are the most incredible young men. I am so proud of them. I have made mistakes in the past, nothing that would ever, I never put my children in danger. I never hurt them. I was a stay-at-home mom for, a stay-at-home mom and wife for around about 10 years. Built my ex-husband up, took care of him, and then started having babies right out of high school. My first is Hunter, and my second's Gabriel. My baby is Lucas. I stayed home, took care of them, did everything for them. And my ex used a lot of things against me when I had proof otherwise. And I've almost lost track of when the last time I seen them was. And it's not because I'm a horrible mom. It's just because it's been that long. You know, when they get older, hopefully one day they'll see this and see the love that I have for them. Hopefully I'll have seen them while they're still young enough. But our kids, we miss them and we love them. I don't just think of his kids as his kids.
Right.
They're my kids too.
Right.
My kids are his kids. And all we want is time with them and to be a family. And I guess I'll go ahead and say, do you care?
It's more up to your comfort.
You have to tell me yes or no. The court systems are all about money. Whoever has the money gets the kids. That's pretty much how it is. My husband left me with nothing but a car. I had no money. I was a stay-at-home mom and wife. He went to court with money, could afford a lawyer, and, you know, used stuff against me that I had proof otherwise, and got the kids.
He
Well, he didn't put me in those things.
He does.
I don't want that out there.
Okay.
I mean, you could say he beat the crap out of me, but, you know.
Her ex-husband actually went to jail for abusing her, and to my understanding, it was pretty severe. She tells me that it was severe, and I believe her.
Well, I went to the cops and they took pictures.
Yeah, I mean, he came out of jail. A lot of the times in an abusive relationship, the abuser can talk the abusee into doing things that they really shouldn't. It's not rational.
Right.
Um,
Almost like the Stockholm syndrome to some degree.
yeah, to a degree.
Yeah, but it's different. I understand what you're saying.
So he went and filed for emergency custody as soon as he got out of jail, and unfortunately in Morgan County, Tennessee, he wound up getting it, even though he had no grounds for it. He told her that if she comes back, she can see the kids. They just be together.
And of course I went back.
She went back, and the same thing happened. He was beating on her again, and of course after that she left. When she left, she went to her children where they were at. She didn't run away from her kids. She went to her kids.
Yeah, my kids were staying at my mom and dad's for the weekend, and I went to where they were.
The courts tried to say that she abandoned them because she was at her parents' house.
Yeah,
even though she
because
was
I
with the
left
kids.
my house.
Yeah. And he wound up getting custody of the kids.
Yeah.
It's been a big fight ever since.
They, I have recordings of when I call them. I get to call them every Monday and every Tuesday. And Mom, we don't want to talk, bye. And just hang up
And I've seen them
the
talk to her,
phone.
and that's not them. That's,
So,
one of our big fears with her kids, and her fight for them, and her time with them, is that she's married to me. Court systems can,
yeah.
do the same thing to her that they've done to me because of me. Say, oh, well, he has PTSD, and he must be, out there because he has PTSD. So, no, we're not going to give you time with your kids because of him. I worry about that all the time because that's what the court systems have shown me.
Right.
And even afterwards of that, they don't stop there. You would think, we're going to take your children away from you for no good reason, for no valid reason, and that would be torturous enough, but they continue. They shoot child support through the roof, knowing that you most likely can't pay it.
No.
Because the majority of the people that they do that to are disabled veterans, and a lot of us can't work. We come home like I am, or like I said earlier, friends that are missing pieces.
Right.
And we can't get out and work and make all kinds of extra money. We can't work 2 and 3 jobs. Believe me, a lot of us would love to. It drives me crazy that I can't do the things that I did. I worked 18-hour days in the Army on a regular basis.
Right.
I used to run 6 miles a day in the morning. That was my workout, especially after my first deployment.
But the thing is, then the courts want you to pay so much money to see your kids. Here in Knoxville, Tennessee, there's a place called the Parenting Place, of where you can go visit your kids for a couple of hours, and then you pay hundreds of dollars up front, plus hundreds of dollars depending on what your income is every time you get to see your kids for an hour or 2. Well, when you're disabled and you live on a
Very limited
income, how are you supposed to pay child support, then pay to see your kids? They're our kids. They came from us. How dare you make us pay to see our kids? Well, that's wrong. It's so messed up. And then there's guilt because you can't afford it.
Right.
And then, you have an ex telling your kids, oh, they don't want you, they don't love you. And it's complete and utter bullcrap. And the system needs to be changed. It has to.
So with the past 2.5 weeks, has been the finale of a I don't know, 4 to 6 month fight. I started taking action to try to, get time with my kids, to get the state of Tennessee, particularly Anderson County, to recognize the federal laws that are supposed to protect my benefits. And at first I didn't have all the laws personally. I knew that they existed. I did not know what they were. I'm not an attorney.
Right.
And that's the case with most people.
Right.
Obviously, that's why we hire attorneys.
Right.
A lot of the times, all over the country, attorneys, especially for family court, will not bother with federal laws involving veterans because either they don't know about them because we're such a small group compared to the rest of the population of the country, or it's been made clear to them by whatever state they work for, we don't want you messing with these. And there's a reason I say that, which I'll elaborate more here in just a second. But so every time we went into court over child support, we went in 3 times prior to 2 weeks ago, I brought up the fact that there are federal laws that protect my benefits. That they're not supposed to be used as child support, collection, income, any of that. And the state representative for the child support office would...
And for some reason, we can't find her name anywhere. It's like it's impossible to find this woman's name.
There's a reason. This woman, she's an older woman, comes in, and she's basically there to say, okay, us at the child support office feel that this should be done or that should be done, or the amount should be this amount or that amount. She literally, and when I say literally, I mean she actually out loud to the courtroom sits with my ex-wife and talks about how she don't understand how somebody could just not love their kids or
Not want to see their kids.
Yeah, things of that nature, which is outright falsehood.
And the magistrate lets her do this. She is hearing everything that this woman from the state is saying about, and I've noticed it's men she does it with. She says these things. When women come in the courtroom and owe child support, I never hear her say anything to them. It's men. And the thing she says is absolutely disgusting and it should be stopped. I'm not understanding why the magistrate, in other terms, I'm just going to say it, isn't woman enough to stand up and say, you need to quit downing these men like this. But I guess in Anderson County, Tennessee, that's not going to happen.
Are there any names you want to mention?
Magistrate Clark.
Okay.
Yeah.
And D.A. Clark.
And D.A. Clark.
So, magistrate.
She's basically the judge for child support.
Okay, wait a minute. Are these 2 people related?
They're married.
Yeah.
The D.A. Clark, signed the paperwork that put my husband in jail that his wife had filled out.
Well, that's just transparent as all get out.
Yeah.
So
Some accountability there. I've got your back, you've got my back.
yeah.
That is incredible that would happen here.
Well, it's like I told Josh, I said, the funny thing is, let's say that I was a judge. You were the DA. Do you want to come home and deal with me if you don't agree with what I say? No, it's not going to happen. And it makes me wonder how many other, not just veterans,
Right.
but other people, they have went home, discussed things, and he signed it and put them in jail or put them in a position of whatever it is. How many people this has happened to?
I worked with a paralegal who said that you would be surprised to watch the way the attorneys that take opposing sides, and this is a little bit different scenario, but like in a divorce scenario, the attorneys will socialize together, they'll eat lunch together, they'll strategize. One is representing the husband, one is representing the wife, and the whole intent is, I'll do this, you can do that. It's to bleed money from the couple.
Okay.
And the outcome is going to be predetermined, but there's so much money to be made in family courts that there's bound to be corruption, and there is corruption.
Something else I'd like to bring up is, how does a magistrate and a DA afford a $400,000 estate to live on? Blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know, I sure do wish our children had a $400,000 stake to play on.
So tell me about, you said you were thrown in, you were in prison recently.
Well, it was jail.
Jail, okay.
Yes, sir. So the final time that we went to court.
Okay.
It was the 14th of this month. I went in with the actual federal laws in hand. Now, I had to go in with the federal laws because I was assigned a court-appointed attorney.
Mm-hmm.
This court-appointed attorney,
David
Vandersloos.
Yes.
Every time I went to him and said there are federal laws that protect my rights, protect my benefits, he blew me off. He eventually got to the point where he wouldn't answer phone calls.
He was
find him
never
in his
there.
Office. The only time I could find him is the morning we went to court.
Mm-hmm.
So that particular morning I had to bring in the paperwork, and I handed it to him and I said, look, you've not supported me thus far. I actually have the federal laws in hand. I'm giving it to the judge, or you can. So he presents it to the court. When he presents it to the court, him, the state representative, and the judge all literally went and talked together outside of the courtroom.
Yeah.
When they came back, they started my trial, and my wife was kicked out of the courtroom.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was supposed to be like a witness.
Yeah. Now, the strange thing is, sorry to interrupt you, sweetheart, but while I'm remembering this, when she told the lady from the state, who was a different woman this time actually, to look at the laws, it looked like his ex's eyes were going to pop out of her head. She ran to the lady from the state and, said something to her. I couldn't hear it. And the lady from the state was like, it's okay, be okay. And that's just a little tad bit of what went on in the courtroom that day. Go ahead, sweetheart. I apologize.
That's okay. So they removed her from the courtroom, even though, because she's my wife, because she's my caregiver, she should have been in there. After they removed her, the state kept asking me questions that were not simple yes or no questions. Things like, well, you haven't paid since such and such date. To which I said, that's true, but that's because I'm disabled and I'm not supposed to be paying anything right now because I'm disabled. I cannot work. I do not have Social Security disability. All I have is my VA disability, and I could barely live on that.
And the VA did an, apportionment?
The state, in the only part that they actually followed the laws on, they filed an apportionment, but they didn't do it with the intent of following the law. They did it with the intent of trying to garnish that money since they can't do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They filed an apportionment with the VA. The VA came back and told them, no, we're not doing an apportionment because there's federal law saying that that's illegal, and on top of that, it would be a financial hardship for the veteran.
Yes. And funny thing is, which it's not funny, it really pisses me off, excuse my language, but we gave that to the magistrate, that piece of paper, not once, but twice, and it's disappeared from his file. When I went and looked at his file the other day, it had magically disappeared.
There's a lot of things with my file that's
go ahead.
off. But, so they, the state kept asking me questions like that, and I had to sit and explain to them, yeah, of course I'm not paid. I'm in this situation, and you guys are charging me an amount that's not supposed to be that amount. It's by law, it's supposed to be set at zero right now till I get Social Security disability because of my condition.
And he made it clear it's not that he doesn't want to pay child support. He wants to support his kids.
And he'd like to see them too.
Yeah, see them too, and don't make us homeless like we have been in the process of this.
Right.
Yeah. So,
While his ex is also living in his home that is
in the divorce,
in his, we don't need it, just, that's through his VA home loan. She cannot transfer it in her name by law, but she is living in that home.
yes.
So who's making the payments? She's making the payments?
She's making the payments.
She's currently making the payment.
But
it's-
also, but also destroying his credit because she's always late on payments. And some of the utilities are also still in her name. And it's been how long since y'all been married?
It's been a good while. When it comes to the house, she won that in the divorce. She refused for 2.5 years to go to court while I was in the state, when I was forced to leave the state to go work at another job, she somehow got someone to go to my old address where we were evicted and sign saying that I was there past the date that I was evicted. Whenever we were unfortunately forced to be homeless for a short period of time. Then she went to court with that and got everything. I mean, time with the kids, child support through the roof. She even got the home that was purchased with my VA home loan benefit, and the state is supposed to set up where if she gets the home, she has to refinance it into her name or
Right.
try to take over the payment.
Right.
It has to be removed from mine. The judge ruled that I have no legal right to the home, but they made it to where she doesn't have to refinance it.
Yeah, they never put anything in the paperwork about it.
Yeah, so they
Way to
went
go,
against them on
Anderson
that.
County.
Yeah. But so anyway, with the disability, that's okay, babe. With the disability, they were asking me these questions, and of course they weren't yes or no, just yes or no questions for me, because I had to explain to them my situation. Because if I just said yes or no, it would look like, yeah, I'm sitting at home, I'm not doing anything, and I'm not, trying to take care of my kids, and I'm just outright breaking the law. My attorney was telling me, you need to answer just yes or no. The court-appointed attorney was. When my ex-wife admitted that she broke into my DOD online account to get information about my VA disability and her caregiver status, which is a felony, by the way, the judge wouldn't let me talk to her directly. I had to speak through my attorney. And as soon as she admitted that, I turned to him and I explained to him, that's a felony. That's illegal. It is a federal crime to break into a DOD, login.
Right.
When the judge asked, do you have anything to say, my attorney, after me telling him that and me explaining some of the federal laws to him that we had in paper,
Over and
bold,
over
clear
again.
print, he said, we have nothing to say, over and over again, like we had come in with nothing. The judge ruled that the Rose versus Rose case stood above everything else, even the federal laws that are currently in place that make Rose versus Rose completely invalid. And then she put me in jail with, and here's the sentence, it is indefinite until a purge payment is made. That's what they call it, a purge payment. She set mine at $782. No one that she sent to jail that day, and she sent quite a few to jail that day, had a payment over $100.
$50 to $100 or a slap on the wrist.
So now are you telling me that this is the court where she's sending people to jail because of not paying child support?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How many people were actually there?
Oh, goodness. Okay, the people that was already in jail, I would say there was maybe 4 women and 5 guys. Would you think that was about right?
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And then there
So
was,
they're criminalizing you
yes.
because you're not paying, even though in many instances, I mean, it's obviously equal opportunity as far as gender is concerned for both men and
Yes.
women. But people that, for whatever reason, can't make a payment now become criminals?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
They jail them. They give them, just like they did with me, an indefinite sentence. She makes it clear to everyone. She says it to everyone, no matter how many times she said it in court. I can put you in jail. I can leave you there. You can be there for a year, and I never have to come check on you.
And who was this judge again?
Judge
Magistrate Clark.
Okay. And that's a she.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the wife of the...
The DA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She gives the speech to everyone.
Yeah.
As they come up, each case. And so...
$782.
Yes, sir.
Now,
And,
where did you come up with the money?
the money was actually, when they put me in jail, my wife did everything that she could to assist me. She got in contact with several attorneys all over the country, to include people from the group that we are.
Greg Parsons, as well as Cash.
Yeah, they all were a huge help.
I will always and forever be grateful to those people. They actually set up a GoFundMe account, and within hours, really,
The money was raised.
the money was raised. And
They're good men.
they're
Yes, they are.
such good men, and like I said, I can never say thank you enough.
Nor can I.
And how grateful that we are that there are people like you all that exist. And while he was in jail, it was horrible. He didn't get his medications.
Okay, go ahead. I'll
So they put me in jail in Anderson County. The first 3 days I was locked in a cell that I could not leave at all. Like every inmate that was in the pod except me had timeout throughout the day. I was in a different color and they kept me locked in that room for 3 days. No shower. No clean clothes, nothing like that. Now they did, of course, give me meals, but that was it. No ability to talk on the phone, anything. After those 3 days, now they did at first let me hang on to my cane. At first, and here's one of the funny things about it. When they booked me in, they said, "All right, well, we're going to let you hang on to your cane, and instead of giving you the standard, Croc flip-flops that they have for their prison uniforms, they said, we'll let you hang on to your shoes because we don't want you walking around in flip-flops." And they took the shoestrings out, which essentially turned my tennis shoes into flip-flops. If not more dangerous.
Yeah.
And no shower shoes. So I was locked in that room for 3 days. None of my medication. When they booked me, they checked my blood pressure, and it was a little high.
Okay.
Only time I'd ever been in jail.
When someone's booked in jail and they've never been in jail, I would think, and I'm not a doctor, I would think that someone's blood pressure would be pretty dang high, that their blood pressure would rise.
Right.
Especially when they've been put in jail because the state's breaking the law.
Yeah.
It'd be different if I did something stupid and I was in there, why did I do something stupid? But in my case, it was, I wanted them to uphold the law to actually recognize my federal civil rights.
Not just yours, but
yeah.
all veterans.
Right.
Oh, definitely. But they didn't. They locked me up, and I was pretty upset about it. So I had a little bit of high blood pressure that day. That is the only day that I saw a doctor. After those 3 days, they let me out for an hour to go shower. Did not have clean clothes. Wore the same clothes for 5 days. Was finally allowed to call my wife after 3 days, to which I let her know, hey, I've not got any of my medications. And she let me know that the day that they booked me in, she brought my medications down to them.
Yes.
Well,
actually, it was the day after because I want to make sure everything's honest with down here. It was the day after because they told me not to bring anything down there that day. Made that very clear to me. So the day after, I did bring all of his medications there.
So,
And when I did bring them down, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt.
That's okay.
But when I did bring them down, I handed them to a nurse. I assume she was a nurse. She was wearing scrubs. And I explained to her, here is the issues my husband has. Not only am I his wife, but I'm his caregiver. They kind of make it sound like that's your issues. Me. Just the way I said that. I'm not his issues. Okay, let's make this clear. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. I handed her all his medications and explained to them, here's the issues that he has. This medication's for this medication's for this. He needs this medication for this. And the two that I told her that he absolutely needed right away was one, his depression medication. If he doesn't have that, he tends to fall into a deep depression. His post-traumatic stress gets a lot worse. And his stomach medication. And I'm just going to say this, so I'm sorry, babe. When he does not have his stomach medication, blood. It's all blood that comes out. They're hoping maybe the gallbladder having that taken out might help. But if he does not have that medication, it's horrible. And I did explain that to her. And kept having to call medical. That's what blew my mind. I called them every single night that he was in jail. Every single night. And explained to them, why aren't you calling me? Why aren't you letting me know?
What's going on?
I get it's jail, but I'm also his caregiver,
right.
And his wife. Let me know something.
Right.
Go ahead, baby.
So after the 3 days, they finally brought me some medication. They brought me an anti.
Antidepressant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But it was theirs, not mine. Entirely different medicine. They also brought me a pill for blood pressure, to which I tried to deny. The CEO that was there at the time, the correctional officer, said that he was on the same medication at that dose. So that's like a standard dose, is what he was trying to explain. And the nurse agreed. This is a standard dose. They never checked my blood pressure after that first day. And I explained to them, my blood pressure is normally perfect. Like it's good. Would not let me deny that medicine, because if I denied one, I denied them all. The very next day, after still not having my blood pressure checked.
And I had called and chewed them out.
Yeah. They brought me the same antidepressant that wasn't mine, and they doubled the blood pressure medication. I've never, ever been on blood pressure medication, never needed it. So the only way that I could get an antidepressant was to put all the medications in my mouth, wait until they shut the door, and then spit the blood pressure medication into the toilet and flush it. That was the only way I could have my medicine.
And I also explained to them any medications that they wanted to give him, it needed to be approved by his VA care team. The reason why, and I say us because I consider myself a part of his care team.
Right.
It took us a year and a half.
Yeah.
A year and a half to get him to where he is now, to where he is able to function on a somewhat, I don't even want to say normal, but
Close to normal
range, with his post-traumatic stress, TBI, all of that. They destroyed that in 3 days. That year and a half of work, they destroyed that.
So the only way for me to be able to come home was to, at the end of the month when I got paid my disability check, to pay that large amount out of that, the $782, which would have left us just enough money to pay rent and get some groceries. So where I need to constantly go to the VA for things like surgeries, regular treatment, speaking to a therapist and a psychologist, care that I have to have on a regular basis, I can't afford to do.
Nope.
And that was the only way I could get out of jail. Thankfully, before the end of the month, my wife had gotten a hold of several people like Greg Parsons,
Cash.
and Mr. Cash. They did an amazing job by stepping up and saying, we'll help you out. And I'm eternally grateful for them doing that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm speaking to you now, because I want to help be able to do that too, not just for me,
Right.
but for others.
Right.
Yes.
Because I know if I'm in this boat, there's several that are in a boat that's already sunk.
Right.
When I got out of there, this is the second day?
Yeah.
Is that right? Second day. I'm still not leveled out yet because of their stuff, and I'm back on my regular medications. But I never got all of mine there.
No.
Wow.
The only one of mine that I ever got was the antidepressant, and that took 5 or 6 days to get mine. They started giving me theirs for the first two. That they actually started giving me medicine, and that's like I'm not a doctor, but I know that when you're on one antidepressant, there's a reason they don't prescribe you second ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It tends to be dangerous if you flip flop.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it really sounds like it's an abusive situation. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not. If you're a real criminal, you'd probably be treated better.
Did I not say the exact same thing?
Yeah, you did.
They were. What did they
Um,
get to do? A few of the people that was in there, didn't they get?
Oh yeah, they had time loose in the pod. They board games, all kinds of. When I say I was locked in a room, I asked for pencil and paper.
And they wouldn't give it to you.
No, they would not.
I used to teach in the prison system. Now it was I taught in the medium security area, but you see what people do, and people that would be in there for various things, various lengths of time. But like you said, I mean, it was sports, it was lifting weights, it was playing games, it was
Yeah.
whatever you wanted to do. I mean, what you're telling me that what you went through, it's completely beyond anything that I can imagine. It's inexcusable.
Absolutely
It's
is.
completely corrupt. And you're a veteran. And they've done that to you because you had no money except for your military disability
Yes, sir.
to pay for an arbitrary child support payment that they've said that you've owed. You have your people that have actually committed perjury in court against you, and nothing happens to them.
Exactly.
I mean, it's incredible that this is America, that this is Tennessee, that this is Anderson County, and then when you tell me that the judge, that the magistrate, and the DA are husband and wife, I mean, it just breeds corruption upon corruption.
Yes, sir.
And I am so sorry to hear of this stuff, and
Thank you.
I am amazed that you're actually doing as well as you are.
I try. I've got really good care.
Yeah. I don't know how much more you want to talk. I mean, it's been almost an hour right now. I'm sure you both want to say hello to your children.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah, if by chance they ever get to see this, and I really hope that they do, I really, really hope that they know that my twin boys, Caliber, Larry, that my daughter, Glinda, that they know that their daddy loves them so much. And I will do everything within my legal power to make sure that I can see them again. Because they were my world.
Yeah, I understand.
Because of all this, we both grew up here.
Right.
When I got out of the military, I could have went anywhere. I've traveled a lot through the military. I went all over the United States. I've even, of course I've been out of the country with deployments, but I've seen, parts of Europe, things like that. I've been lots of places. I chose to come back home because this is where I grew up.
Right.
But because of all this, I feel now that I can't live here.
Right.
Once I gain the ability to leave, because
The state's gonna come after us for something else.
it's every time we turn around, there's something. They revoked my driver's license right before they threw me in jail, so I can't drive to my VA appointments anymore.
Now, wait a minute. They revoked your driver's license?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
For the exact same
Because
thing
of-
that they threw me in jail.
Yeah.
Because of lack of child support payment.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We have we have something like that going on in Texas that it's supposed to take place at the end of this year. That is wonderful, wonderful idea that is so misguided. Yeah, it's incredible what happens to people. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead and continue. I had no idea about that.
Oh, yes, sir. I completely forgot to mention it. But yeah, right before we had this big court date, they revoked, not suspended, but revoked my driver's license. The protective order that my ex-wife never needed, that eventually expired. They give her one while we were in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Wait a minute.
We lived in Oklahoma,
Uh-huh.
far, far away from Tennessee. I had no contact with her at all.
He doesn't
Zero.
want contact with her.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Only for the kids.
yeah, and they give her a renewal on that protective order at that time. Now that has since expired, and
Because she has nothing else. Well, I'm sure she'll come up with something.
yeah, she finally had to admit in court that she had no reason to put a protective order against me. She had to admit that in court. After she did that, she didn't reapply for the protective order. I had a carry permit that was supposed to go through that period of time, and since I no longer had the protective order, I should have been able to legally own a firearm. That was also taken away by the state of Tennessee. Revoked my driver's license right before we went to court, all of it. Then, of course, we went to court. They blatantly ignored the federal laws that protect my rights. They tried to say that I should have brought them to them sooner, as though
It's your
them
fault.
breaking the law had some sort of, if I don't say it in time, they can keep doing it.
And then the moment you say something, they're going to be mad at you because
Yeah.
who are you to?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And the
Yeah.
thing is since we started going to court over all that, I was coming in saying there's federal laws protecting me. There's federal laws protecting me. And the lady that represented the state literally in court said, "Oh, that doesn't exist." So then when I brought her a copy of it to her office, she threw it in my
Threw.
face and said, "That doesn't count."
She threw it at him, literally threw.
Yeah. Then she handed me her pamphlet that she passes out saying as though it's law, but it's everything she's written.
And who is this lady?
I can't
She's
remember
the
her
ones
name. to save my life,
we
but-
cannot figure. We can't find her name for anything.
Okay.
But she represents the child support office
Okay.
for Anderson County.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we find her name, we'll definitely let you know.
Yeah. So, after all this, and I actually bring the laws into court and show the judge, she, basically, well, you should have brought this to me sooner, as though I was the attorney. When I flat out said this stuff exists, it's here. I have to gather it because these attorneys won't do it.
We also
Right.
need to let him know about her throwing me out at the end of court.
Yeah, we brought that up.
Yeah, that
Did we?
she. Yeah.
It's one of
Oh,
the-
If you want to mention it again, feel free to, because it
Okay.
will.
during the process, yeah.
I know your arms get tired. If you need to take a break, okay?
No, that's okay.
So, I wanted her there as, there as my wife, my caregiver, but I also wanted her there as a witness.
Right.
So they, despite her being my wife and my caregiver, they removed her from the court. Threw her out.
But at the end, when I come back in, I don't think we discussed what she did. Did we?
Maybe
No,
not.
no.
Okay. I try as hard as I possibly can to always have my husband's side, to stand by him and support him.
Right.
At the she had me come in for the
Really?
for the ruling. Thank you. And when I asked if I could speak, she said, "Yes, you can." And I said, "Your Honor, I'm his caregiver." She threw down something on the desk, said, "I want bailiff, get this out of my courtroom. I don't want to hear this," and threw me out of the courtroom. Yeah.
To which they then placed handcuffs on me and took me to jail.
And let his ex-grandfather and the lady that was with her laugh. You could hear them laughing outside the courtroom. It's disgusting.
It is.
They basically let me being taken to jail and arrested as
As a joke.
a spectacle for them to enjoy.
And then
Entertainment.
after that, they stayed in the courtroom with the judge for a good 15 minutes. Talking to her. What is there to talk about? Why are they having such close personal relationship that they're staying after the hearing and discussing things?
So, let's see. Is there anything that I'm?
That you're forgetting?
Yeah.
I don't believe so. Let's just make sure and say hello to our babies.
I don't know. I tried earlier, so I'll let you go first.
Okay. Hunter, Gabriel, Lucas, Caliber, Larry, and Kalinda. We love you. We miss you every day. Our hearts are broken because we miss you so much. And we are always just a phone call away. You are our lives, you are our heart, you are our soul, you are our world. And no matter what anybody says to you, we love you. And we'll always be here. And we'll always be here waiting for you too. And we'll always continue to fight. Our fight will never stop. So, know this, if when you get older and you do see this, that's how we feel. And Jessica Mom, as his kids call me, and Mommy, as my kids call me, I love you. And my boys, remember that every time you look up at the sky and you see the moon and you see the stars, Mommy's looking at the same ones and thinking about you. And you will always be my sunshine.
If any of you, any of the 6 of you, because we love you all the same. If you ever get the chance to see this, I want you to know we love you more than anything in the world. And we are so sorry that
that we have not been able to be with you this time. But our hearts have always been with you, and that will never change. And any time in your life, any time, I don't care if it's when you're 5, 10, 20, 40, 60, if we have breath within us, we will always love you and we will always be there for you. And anything that you will ever need from us, we will make sure it happens because we love you more than anything in the world.
And we're trying so hard. Just know that we've tried.
Thank you so much. It's anybody who would have dry eyes after this. I don't know what to say, but just thank you for opening up your hearts and for sharing everything with us.
Thank you so much for being here and for everyone that watches this video. We love our children and we just want to be able to see them, and we want for the state to follow the laws, the federal laws. That's all we want.
Instead of taking people like us that really deserve to be with their children. You know, I understand, you know, people divorce, you know, but that's not a reason to deprive the children of the ability to have equal time with their parents. You know, it's, I mean, who can say, well, it's better for you because, you know, your dad didn't make as much money or your mom didn't make as much money, so you missed out on a whole parent because, you know, one had more money than the other in the court systems and was able to provide them with more. I mean, it's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to us. And it's, you know, for people, especially in a situation like mine where I'm a disabled veteran, and I'm sure they do it to, you know, to a lot of people where, you know, they manipulate laws to better their benefit. To take somebody that's fighting for their kids and to throw them in jail for no legal reason and say, well, you're just going to stay there until you pay us money. Especially when they've broken the law. You know, like I said, I've never had legal trouble before, never. Not even so much as, you know, like I've had 2 speeding tickets my entire life. I was in jail with, you know, people that were criminals, people that were, you know, robbing people by gunpoint, people that, you know, stole from gas stations and things of that nature, and to be classified as the same as that to my children, it's just not fair. It's not right. And it's, I don't know, there needs to be change made. Something needs to be done.
Yeah, we just want everybody to know that we appreciate everybody that helped us from the bottom of our hearts, and we will continue to fight for what is right and for our kids, and we just thank you so much.
There'll be many people fighting along with you. Thank you.
Thank you.